dealing with directed segments, you are going to, let me switch this over. Let's start here. In exercise 1 and 2, find the coordinates of P along a directed line segment AB so that AP to PB is the given ratio. Okay, so all that sounds confusing, and then you get this. Hopefully you can at least recognize that a line segment from A to B would be just plotting these points and drawing a line. We good there? Okay, so let's go ahead and at least plot these points on the graph paper I gave you and draw a line. Okay, so the coordinate -2, 7, and the coordinate -4, 1. So in fact, let's see if I can get to some graph paper here. There we go. -2, was it -2, 7? Okay. And -4, 1. All right. We've got our points. Go ahead and draw our line. Okay. Ooh, that's fine. Okay. It says, I'll kind of skip back to that. Okay. It says, find the coordinates of point P along the directed line segment. So in other words, we need to put point P on our line segment somewhere so that we form AP and PB. And it's got to have this ratio 3 to 1. Okay, so if I'm looking for, or looking to have a ratio for 3 to 1, when I put P somewhere on this line segment, okay, so that AP to PB has that ratio. So in other words, what that really is saying, it's saying I could take the length of PB and lie it along AP, and I'd have to use 3 of these to make this. That's what that says. I know it seems backwards when I describe that. Okay, but let me just put a point there. Now, you guys don't put this point because this is most likely inaccurate. Okay, I'm just going to like put a point right there where that X is. What this says, it says if I called this point where the X is point P, it would say that it would take 3 of these lengths to make up this length. That's what it's saying. All right, now, like I said, it seems backwards here, the way they described it, 3 to 1. Okay, but this one, you're going to use 3 of them to make up this. This is 3 times as big as this one. That's another way to think about it. Okay? So whatever you have to do in your notes to describe that, hey, this is 3 times as big as that, mark it down. And note how we actually listed those things out, right? So if I go back to this, it says so that AP to PB, just like they have their ratio, 3 to 1. So that would AP to PB. Okay, and that's how they say it up here. All right, so that means AP has to be 3 times as big as PB. That's what that's saying. That's going to be one of the most confusing pieces for a lot of you. Okay, so from there, let's go ahead and figure that out. But first, how many parts are there then, if that's true? This line segment is broken into 4 pieces. Now, how could I get that 4 without actually looking at the picture. Great? No, not looking at the picture. Yeah. Good. So think of the line, and I'm going to draw the line here, just kind of in a linear format there. Sounds redundant, but A to B. Think of that line, right? There are 3 parts on this, 3 parts from A to P, and then there's 1 part from P to B. So this line is broken into a total of 4 pieces. So there are 4 parts here. Okay? How many are with me still? Any questions so far? All right. So let's actually try to figure this out. I want you to tell your neighbor how you could break that line equally in 4 parts. That's my hint to you. Break this line now that you graphed equally into 4 parts. Perfectly. So I've heard it from a few different people using it different ways. Okay, anyone want to volunteer what they said? Lindsay, what do you got? Okay. Okay, so you can use the distance formula to find the distance of the whole line. Once you find that distance, break it into 4 parts and divide it equally that way. Okay? Heard some other ways. That way works, definitely. What are some other ways? Come on, man. You guys had some good stuff. Jilly? Midpoint of the midpoint. Jared, knock it off. Seriously, man. You're in 9th grade. Put that down. Focus. Get your workbook up. You need that right now. Okay. All right. Yeah, you can find the midpoint of the midpoint. So, right here, that's the midpoint. How do I know that's the midpoint? Great? Okay, yeah. So from here to here, if I draw in my triangle, you guys remember from algebra, I rise 6. And I run 2. Rise 6, run 2, right? Well, halfway would be rise 3, run 1. So if I rise 3 and run 1, I'm now right here. That's my midpoint. Now, is that point P? No, I've broken my line into how many parts now? 2 equal parts. I need 4. So if rising 3, okay, and I'm going to kind of break this up. If rising 3 and running 1, how do I get the midpoint of this chunk now? The midpoint of the midpoint. Or of the half segment there. Yeah, McCoy? That would find that length, and then we could cut it in half. That's using distance again. Okay, let's go back. We rose 6, ran 2, so to find halfway, we ran up half of it. Up 3 over 1. So how could we go up and get to there now? Yeah. Take half of 3 and half of 1. So rise how far? 1.5 and run 0.5. Well, if I rise 1.5, where am I rising from? When I'm talking about rise, am I talking about X or Y? I'm talking about Y. So where am I at currently on Y? I'm currently at 4 or 1. Which one? I'm at 1. And I'm rising how far? 1.5. So where's that put me? 2.5. Okay, use your scales on the side. So I'm going over how far? 0.5. So where am I currently on X? -4. If I'm going to the right, 0.5, where am I going to be? -3.5. So what is the coordinate of this point? -3.5 and 2.5. Man, I did not give myself much room there, did I? Just squeeze in the 2.5. Okay. I had to use pen, otherwise it's hard to see. But all right, negative 3.5, 2.5. All right, that is point P. Now let's make sure we actually did that accurately. If point P is at 3.5, 2.5, negative 3.5, 2.5, and that's supposed to be a solution to this. That means this little chunk right here would fit how many times in this part? 3. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's our third. You don't count the original, right? It takes, so you're saying from, remember, let's go back to this picture. From A to P, so from here to here, you should have 3 parts. From here to here, you should have 1 part. Okay? How many are with me there? All right, so let's say I could have, rather than having to go through halves of halves, that's kind of tougher. We're going to come back to this when we do this next problem because this next one doesn't break it down into halves as easy. Okay, so take a look at the next one, number 2. Number 2 says you have AP now, and you're going to ratio 2 to 3. Okay, this was easy because how many parts were there total? 4. How many parts are here? 5. Harder to just cut in half and half again, right? It's a different scenario. So let's start by doing the same thing. Plot AB. All right. So we're going, remember, I can't remember. Look. Oh, it's 2 to 3. Okay, so we're going 2, 2, 3. And we're going A, P, 2, P, B. So which one's going to be longer this time? Tell your neighbor there. Okay, which one? PB, yeah. This one's going to be our longer one. How many total parts? 5 parts. Okay, this line is going to be broken up into 5 parts. 2 of them are going to be from A to P. 3 are going to be from P to B. Okay? So, let's go through our slope again. See if we can use that. My slope here, if I go down, how much am I going down? 3. How much am I going over? 5. All right. How could you use that? Yeah. So in this case, the midpoint won't help us as much, huh? It's 5 parts, right? How many of those 5 parts is this? 2. So this is 2 out of 5 parts, which we call 2/5, right? How many of this 5 parts is this? 3. This is 3 out of 5 parts. Now you've got some lengths here. This length has 5. Okay? Well, how much of that do I want for this? I want 2 out of 5. Okay? 2 out of 5 get to go to AP. 3 out of 5 get to go to PB. How many are with me right now? Okay, so if I were to follow this up, it hits right here. you'll notice this chunk right here, that looks like just a little smaller than this, right? Which is what we want. We've taken 2 out of 5. Now, it's still, if this is point P, it still doesn't give us one of our coordinates. It tells us our y, or excuse me, our x. What's our x coordinate? Yeah, it's 5. It doesn't tell us our y. What's this length again? You got 3? What part of that do we want for AP? We want 2/5 of it, right? So 2/5 of 3 is what? Come on, fraction, we multiply by the top and divide by the bottom. What is that? 1 and 1/5, or 6/5. We good there? Okay, so we start here, and we are going to go 1 and 1/5 down. 1 is easy. It takes us to 0. We start at 1, we go to 0. 1/5 down, what fraction is 1/5, or what decimal is 1/5? Yeah. 0.2. You could also use 1/5 if you want, but it's 0.2. Okay, so we could say this is 0.2. Now, is that accurate? Not quite. We're almost accurate. Yeah. Here, what do you got? Yeah, you got to make it a negative. Well done, man. Yep. How many are with me there? Okay, the pictures will help on this. If you look in the book, it'll show you kind of some pictures. It does a lot of algebra. Okay, pictures will help. So draw them out when you see these. Okay? Doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect at them. Still going to have to practice them. You'll get more practice on them tomorrow. Okay, right now, you're going to finish up the extra practice as your assignment today. Okay?